So this is also an interesting aspect. Second thing I wanted to talk about is again coming to the product side of things with respect
Yes.
to application of a fundamental theoretical concept. Is you gave a very excellent example on the area of temperature sensitivity of gas absorption, right? So the absorption may not always be friendly. So what works on the test bed or
Yeah.
a bench scale model may not always work in field.
Yeah.
Okay, so how would you advise researchers to basically counter that, or is there a path in which they should basically start thinking about it, going in?
Yeah, yeah. So the path is, of course, you have to think more practically.
Hmm.
And of course, not every aspect will come to you by thought. Some things you will see once you deploy things on the field itself. We also can't plan out everything once we build a system. So many things we face on the field. And once you face something, once you face an issue, you see that this is something that is not right. So you have a problem basically. You go for what we call as a root cause analysis. You first see what exactly is causing that. Okay, so then you can find out a way that can mitigate that basically or can minimize that. Okay, so that is typically the approach that is taken. Okay, so in many cases it may not be possible to totally mitigate it, but even if you can minimize it to a certain extent that it doesn't hamper the performance of the system to a good amount, then it's good enough for your system as well. Okay.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, last question from my side. Then we'll move on to any
Sure.
questions from audience, which is that in research in academia and research in industry. Okay, I mean both
Hmm.
exist. Okay, at Forbes Marshall, for example, we do put a focus on
Yeah, yeah,
research,
yeah,
but it does lean towards development a little bit
yeah.
more. Okay, so what has been your experience on both of these sides?
Uh, yeah. Could you rephrase it? Means
Yeah, so
exactly.
basically, so you did research as part
Mhm.
of as part of your academic career
Mhm.
also,
Okay.
and you've been doing that with Forbes Marshall also on the same
Okay.
technology.
Okay.
Okay, so what I want to know is there a difference in flavor?
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Surely. It's quite different. Like since here we are looking to commercialize the system, one aspect we have to think every day is the cost.
Yeah,
Okay, which
you mentioned
almost
that,
in
yes.
academia we never thought about it because
Right.
in academia we are trying to prove something. Okay, we are not trying to prove. It means see everything we don't build is a low cost system, and it
Mm.
can't be also. So in academia we don't always target a low cost system. You try to prove what you are trying to prove. Okay, means you have some hypothesis in mind, or you have to build a certain system to measure certain quantities or gases. So you build things. Okay, we don't think about the cost that much. We also didn't when we were in our PhDs. But here, the first thing you have to chalk out is the cost because you have built a thing, but if it goes above your budget or what it should be, for the company you have built nothing basically because it can't be commercialized. That's the main part. Okay, so again, that's the basic difference between the primary focus of academia and industry. Since uh, in industry we are looking forward to commercialize it, at every point of your development process, you have to keep a check on the cost. Okay, so that it can be commercialized. In academia, we didn't think so, and people don't need to think so. Okay. The second thing is we have to think about a lot of new designs also because your product has to stand out. It has to be unique. It has to have differentiating features also from the other products in the market. So that invariably leads to a certain number of patents also. Okay. So in academia also patents happen, but here the design difference itself gives you an edge to go for patents. As a, okay. So that's again another difference that you see in an academic research environment and a industrial research
Yeah,
environment.
absolutely. Okay, but this is interesting. I mean,
Yeah,
industry does tend to favor patents because there does
yeah, yeah,
it does have this commercialization
yeah,
aspect to it. Yeah, publications again, industry is open to that,
yeah.
but academia has a bit more flair to it.
Yes, yes,
That's the way I would put it, I
yes.
guess. Yeah. Okay, so we have one question from KV Radha. So, how to develop researchers' interaction with industry? Publications are mostly done on work basis. The route to relate to industrial needs is to be known. This is exactly what I was talking about. That core research, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah,
That core research or fundamental research can have its own pace,
Right,
and it
right,
has its own place.
right.
But with respect to anything from application to funding,
Right.
this pathway does seem to be a little unclear.
Yes. So again, establishing this pathway is also not a very straightforward process if you are in an academic environment. So like if means the first way is of course to develop connections. So that you can do either in conferences, or you can just approach certain people from certain companies whom you know it aligns good with your research area. Okay. So that invariably you have to do either through a conference meeting or you meet them personally. So you have to venture out to the industry to make contacts. Okay. Of course, we also as industry people, we also venture out to academia to create collaborations in the very same way. So when we find that certain IIT has a certain knowledge about a certain technology, we see that there is potential in that, we venture out to that particular faculty. Okay, we ask them, we talk to them, we see whether that can be moved to the commercialization stage, whether we can take it forward as a product. It becomes a collaborative kind of project where the academia understands that we have that knowledge base where this can be used, okay, and it can be commercialized. So they have added value to that system. And similarly, we also gain by interacting with academia in various ways. Okay, so the main thing is that you have to build these connections. Yeah, and it's not that straightforward. Of course, everything may not work out. We also talk to various people. Not all things turn out to be collaborations. Okay, some of them only turn out to be collaborations, but that's the only way. Okay, and in that way, I think we can start actually bridging this gap. So this academia industry gap is of course a well-known thing to people from both sides. Okay, but the only way to bridge this gap is to interact more, so that academic people know what exactly needs to build a real life system. What actually are the problems that we face on the field? Okay, and so for example, in academia, we never think about certifying a system, okay, or getting something EMI, EMC certified, because you are not developing a product typically, okay. But what are these aspects actually? How much can electromagnetic waves interfere with your system? Once you see those things real life, you will get and understand what are the practical problems that people in industry face. Okay, so the answer to your question is basically interact as much as possible. Find people from the industry either in your conferences or the conferences that you visit, or try to find them from the company websites or LinkedIn profiles. Set up meetings with them or invite them, go talk to them, and see whether things can be done. Try to take knowledge from them that what are the problems they are facing, and pitch to them what are the work you are doing that can be relevant to the industry. I think that's the way forward.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. And I think there are some central approaches also that are being formulated around this. So, for example, India is actually looking to create its own
Yes.
NRF.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
you're
yeah,
aware of
yeah,
that. Okay. So there are potential industry entities such as CII, for example,
yeah,
that are involved in creating a framework for that, which
yeah.
could also be a gateway
Right,
for these
right.
interactions going forward.
Even there is a DST funding option called Imprint.
Yeah.
Okay, so Imprint actually was conceived to be an academia and industry collaboration.
Right.
Okay, where academia would provide its own knowledge, industry would provide its expertise, and together they would come up with a product. That's what and there are various products that are actually building up to that initiative.
Right.
Okay, so such initiatives are again a pathway, a bridge. Imprint is basically a bridge between academia and industry. Okay, so faculties who are interested in getting fundings, you can target this sort of call for means grants, which actually fund these industry academia collaborations. Basically.